Do I think most or even many 5th edition D&D players are actually selfish? No, I don't. But I do think that the guidance that the community tends to give to players and GMs alike sets up a pattern that will develop in some players the capacity to play selfishly. Let's talk about it. This comes up all the time in various forums. The problem player thread, or maybe multiple problem player threads, problem player master threads, individual questions about problem players. And almost always the answers that come out of these discussions of various player problems is a combination of talk to the player, but of course you have a problem with the player, you need to talk to them, but also some version of mismatched expectations. Now, I'm not going to get into the topic on this video. I've covered it before about using tools such as Session Zero to hopefully set expectations appropriately. But what I am going to talk about is I think the misguided guidance that is put forth often by the community that leads players down this path of acting, and maybe I shouldn't call it selfish, maybe self-centered is a better word, into a self-centered mode of play that can cause problems. And of course, it's fine until the problems come up, and then GMs, the players, everyone's scrambling around to find a solution. But like with many things, if you could nip the problem before it reared its ugly head, then you wouldn't be in the spot where you are now. And I think where that problem first arises is in the guidance. I'm going to go over a couple of things that I hear. The first one, I've talked about this before, is this concept of the GM as the person who is there to make sure all the players have fun. I think this is patently false, and I hear it from people that I really respect. It comes up all the time. Oh, the GM's job is to make sure the players have fun. It's my job to make sure the players have fun. It's not your job. The table as a whole has a responsibility to make it fun. It's a game. It's something we're doing because it brings us, if not fun, then some kind of joy, some kind of fulfillment, and that's everyone's responsibility. As a GM, you do have a little bit of extra authority that you're given, a little bit of extra responsibility. So if you were going to say who could press their finger on the scale a little bit more in this regard, certainly the GM has a little bit. But no, you are not the sole person who is responsible for the table having fun. And what this does when we keep repeating it and saying it over and over again is it allows the players to believe that they have no part in this, that they don't have to look out for their fellow player or the GM. They can do whatever they want, and it's the GM's job to make sure it's all fun for everybody. If I'm a player, I just get to look at my PC, I can do what my character thinks they would do, and the GM will clean up all my mess. If you have 5 players who are all doing that, it's going to be a chaotic, awful game. And the reason is because we are telling the players up front, hey, this responsibility for fun, it's not on you. It's on the GM. They have to do it. You can just do whatever you want. Of course, most players, the majority of players, don't take this to the kinds of extremes, but we can see where the players who can go wrong in this kind of system, we can see how their belief, the idea that they should be able to do what they want, or that they do what they want with little care given to the rest of the table, comes from this sort of guidance. They hear this. Oh, it's the GM's job to make sure I have fun. Well, my fun is going off and doing this, so I'm going to do that, and GM will make sure that it works, that it's fun. They'll take care of everything else. Right? That's what we're told, so that's what we're going to do. And that's can cause, and does cause, problems. The second thing that I think comes up fairly often is this idea of the players creating their characters basically inside their own little shells. Shell is probably not the right word. Inside their own little bubbles. Now, I've talked about in the past, I've looked at other systems outside of D&D, such as Fate, which really does a good job of forming linkages between different player characters, so that, hey, character A, player A, how is your character connected to player B, character B? How is your character connected to player C, character C? So on and so forth, which really engenders a team attitude. It's interesting that D&D, by the book, maybe there is some guidance somewhere in the DMG or the PHP, I don't know, but certainly in the community, it feels like everyone just comes up with their own characters from soup to nuts, backstories, everything, basically on their own, in that bubble. And then they bring them onto the table, and the expectations on the GM to make it all fit together. And this is not just in terms of powers, abilities, classes, but their goals, what they want to do, what they foresee is their type of adventure. It could be all over the map. I want to go find my lost brother. I want to go save my hometown. I'm a demon prince's son and I need to go reclaim my infernal crown. Not only is it left to the GM to put all together, it is implied, sometimes it is said expressly, that the players not only should do this, but that they should feel that the GM is going to put all this stuff together. Hey, you create your backstory, and then the GM's going to take it and do magic to make it all work. Sure, it sounds great, and often it works, and there are lots of GMs that are able to make it work, which is great, but it puts a lot of pressure on those GMs. And it's not even just the GM. If we are on the plot line of helping the demon prince's son reclaim their infernal throne, then we're not doing the things that the other players signed up for. And then if we go off and we're finding the other player's lost sister, we're not doing stuff that those other players signed up for. And while there are many players, many parties who are perfectly fine with that, and sometimes GMs can weave everything together so that the tale of the demon prince's son will somehow intersect with the missing sister story, it creates a lot of issues, especially when those players whose stories are not being spotlit at the moment say, hey, what about me? I don't want to do this. Why would my character want to go off and do this thing? I'm going to either act out as a player, because as a player I'm not interested, or I'm going to do what my character would do and walk off into the woods because they have nothing to gain or lose. It doesn't matter to them at all whether we find this player's lost sibling or not. What we end up with is players who are wrapped up in their own internal stories with their own senses of expectations and their own ideas on how these things should be fulfilled that are essentially completely separate from the GM and the rest of the party. And while that can work, and very often it does work, it can also flame out a lot. And when it does flame out, it's easy to look at the problem player and say, hey, you didn't do this the right way, or you're a bad player, or insert whatever piece of guidance you could do. And hey, GM, you're a bad GM. Did you do a session 0? Well, you didn't do it enough. You should do it again. And that's fine, and it's good. But if we don't talk about these underlying issues of what's being reinforced, what's being told and retold, what we're seeing all the time in YouTube videos and in posts in different forums about these kind of player and GM roles in a sense, and not only just the player and the GM, but also players and their relationships to other players, then this is constantly going to come up. Because if we tell someone, hey, the GM is going to take care of everything, you do your own thing, you're fine. Oh yeah, and make all your stuff, and you're going to make your character by itself, and don't worry about anybody else, and you're going to do that, and everyone else is going to kind of make it fine. And we put all these things together. Sure, we can try to find the magic person who can make all this work, and a lot of GMs, frankly, are magical people, and they do make it work. But then you're going to have these players and these GMs that can't handle it, and it's not even a fault on their own. They are told, I'm supposed to be making sure everybody has fun. If people aren't having fun, it's my fault. I'm looking for myself because that's my job. That's how I see my job. My job is to make sure the table has fun, and the table's not having fun. That's my job. They're going to keep running into this. They're going to keep finding issues again and again and again. And so we have problem player threads again, and again. Someone can come in and post, because I haven't read my PHP in a while. If there's stuff, maybe there is in character creation, there's some bit where you say, hey, how do you know the character next to you? But it's certainly not a focus. I think it's certainly not something that a lot of the community focuses on, which is really more important. This to me is not a question that you answer with, let me post to you the pages in the DMG in Tasha's and Xanathar's and the player's handbook answers this, because that doesn't matter if the community doesn't enforce this stuff. This is all about how the community handles questions, handles responsibilities, handles what it says players are supposed to do. And currently, we don't ask the players to do very much other than just do themselves. And when you ask the players only to think about themselves and not to really think about how they fit into the table as a whole, how they fit with the GM, how maybe it's not just the GM's responsibility to have fun. Maybe it's everybody's responsibility to have fun. And if you start looking at it and say, you know what, it's my character that I'm creating, it's more about just me and my wants and my desires, but how we all fit together as a party, then maybe I should be asking questions. Maybe I should be interfacing with the rest of my party, not only in character creation, but during the game, because we're about all of us. So I may understand better. Oh, hey, this person's getting spotlit for this couple sessions. Great. I'm going to support them. That way, when it's my turn, they will support me. But we don't often get there. I don't often see that kind of guidance. unless it's way down in the bottoms of threads that are forgotten. More often I see stuff of, oh, just basically from a player's perspective, just let the other people deal with it. Mostly the GM, but just let someone else handle it. And I think that sets us up for the types of failures that we see. As usual, let me know what you think in the comments. You find me on Twitter, Facebook, wherever I am, Reddit, anywhere you can find me. Let me know what you think about this issue. It's been something that's been on my mind a lot. And I've been pondering it, and I'm not sure that I have particular answers. I just think that probably the first thing to do is just stop telling people some of these things that just aren't the way we really want to run the game. I don't think we want as GMs to be the responsibility of fun. I think D&D is an amazing, rewarding endeavor, and it's our job and responsibility when we engage with the game to make it rewarding and amazing for everyone. I think that part of that is on the GMs, part of that is on the players, because we're all part of this gaming community. And when we start giving out this guidance, making one person responsible for fun, or telling other persons at the table that they only need to deal with themselves, and somebody else, some force on the outside is going to make sure it all fits together, we don't have to worry about that, that's not our job, then we are doing a disservice to them. This is not how you become a better player. Becoming a better player at D&D, in my regards, is not being able to min-max or optimize your character. It's not knowing every rule in the book. It's about taking part in these rewarding experiences and being a true participant, so that at the end of the game, at the end of a campaign, we can look back and look at those shared experiences and say, wow, wasn't that an amazing time? So let's think about how we can make that happen for different tables, different GMs, and different players in a more equitable manner that helps everyone and not just one party or another. Anyhow, that's all I've got. Game on. I'll talk to you later.